While I think it's important all schools teach about the culture of religion, I'm worried that faith schools are allowed to do far more. Even the mild old Church of England has openly set out its aim, through the Archbishop's Council, for its some 5,000 schools to nourish those of the faith, encourage those of other faiths, challenge those who have no faith. What does that mean for those on the sharp end, our children?
I suppose what we are trying to indoctrinate into is a view that faith matters. What you would expect here is to find that the collective worship means something. But the main aim is to not just learn about major faiths, but to have something of an experience of faith. One of the things that's very difficult to do when you're older is to make a decision on something about which you know nothing and have experienced nothing. So it would be very easy for someone to say, oh, religion's all a load of rot, without actually ever having encountered what it's like lived. And so the Christian Foundation enables some of that to be part of these children's experience, not in a way that expects them to sign on the dotted line, but to say, this is what it is like. It's part of your learning and your education to see how it works.
Janina Ainsworth and I disagree here. She feels it's important to experience faith in school, but for me this is indoctrinating children too young to defend themselves. I worry that religions like getting to children young precisely because that's when they're at their most impressionable.
I'm going to show you what it's going to make next. It's going to be a box. Are you ready for the box? Okay, there. There's a box. You see its lids there?
I can make a hat out of it.
What, like that?
No. Put it on me!
Thank you.
Some 60 years on from my childhood, I can still remember how to fold a piece of paper into a Chinese-style boat. It was a craze at my school.
This is going to be difficult. This is the difficult bit now.
I know.
Pulling that out, pulling that out. And pulling up the sails.
Is it Chinese boat?
It's a boat.
Windmill Primary School in Oxford is no faith school, but I've come here to demonstrate children's natural propensity to absorb new information.
A sailor went to sea.
I've reminded one pupil of a well-known clapping game.
See.
Within minutes, others pick up the game, pass it on to friends, make connections and adapt it with variations.
Children love to imitate, they love to join in. There's something compelling about ideas and the way they spread through minds that are a bit like sponges.
What children absorb at a young age can last a lifetime. Should it really be the dogma and daily rituals of religion? And faith schools do much more, of course, than hymns and prayers. The hard edge of the indoctrination goes on in RE, religious education, for which many faith schools teach their own syllabus, and often parents contribute money for the lessons. We weren't granted access to film any RE or faith studies at a Jewish or Catholic school. So I turned to someone who has systematically collected information for years on what actually goes on.
The problem is that it's totally deregulated. The governing bodies of state-funded faith schools have control over their religious education curriculum. Ofsted inspects the religious education in other state-funded schools, but in state-funded religious schools they have their own religious inspectorates to inspect those lessons. Yeah. Yes. And that really compounds problems in other subjects. So a lot of faith schools, particularly Catholic schools, will teach their sex and relationships education in their RE. Lots of faith schools do the same with citizenship education, so those subjects become seen through a religious filter.
How much time do they actually spend on faith as opposed to ordinary education?
Well, we have an example here of a Jewish, state-funded Jewish faith school, where in year 7, that's the first form in secondary school, pupils have 8 hours of religious instruction every fortnight, which compares with 6 hours per fortnight for science and far outweighs any subject in the secular curriculum.
One faith was brave enough to open its doors to filming.
Right, assalamu alaikum girls. Right, now, we know what we're going to do this lesson. We're going to do some drama. I'm just thinking to myself, how universal is this story?
Like back then, everything was according to the family, you got to obey them.
This is Madani High School, an all-Muslim secondary school in Leicester, and one of 11 Muslim faith schools now in the state system. I've come to see firsthand how faith and education mix. This school gets good results, and many of the girls here hope to become the next generation of lawyers, doctors and teachers. Faith schools are sometimes accused of closing children's minds down by teaching them this is the one true faith, and you get your truth from Holy Scripture rather than from opening your mind to the world.
Well, there's slightly a misunderstanding from those who think that way. If you come to our school and if you look at our lessons, they're very much open minds, thinking critically, understanding the world in a very critical fashion.
Like all state schools, they teach national curriculum science here. But like many faith schools, they supplement this with religious lessons that they control and which are not subject to Ofsted inspection.
In our school, when our teachers tell us stuff like teacher stuff, it's like whether it's up to us whether we believe it or not. The teachers do not disrespect our decision. Everybody has a right to their own decision at the end of the day.
Yes. Suppose we take a fact like, are we and chimpanzees cousins? I mean, do you believe that we're cousins of chimpanzees? Or monkeys?
No, I wouldn't think so.
What do your, perhaps we have a science teacher, have we? What do you teach about that?
Well, yeah, we learn about in the curriculum because that's what we follow. We teach them the theory of evolution, but then I do tell them in Islam, our opinion about it, and the girls also have their own opinion and ask questions. So, do we really come from chimpanzees? But they all have their own opinions for that, and then come to their own decision, which every single one of them realise that actually we didn't, because we believe differently.
Every single one of them comes to the conclusion that we did not evolve.
Yeah.
Everybody in your science class, everybody in the school comes to that conclusion.
Well, in my class, yes, they did.
How many is that? I mean,
well, I teach 60 year 10 students, so right. 60 of them.
And all 60 of them end up rejecting evolution?
Yes, because obviously they have their beliefs, which is Islam.
Yeah, about evolution. Evolution is that human evolved from apes and stuff. But if there are still apes here, then how did human evolve from apes?
This is the commonest question I ever get. What's the answer of your science teacher to that?
But I wanted to point the question to you because I wanted to know your opinion.
Well, I'm going to give you the answer, but we've been told that your science teacher teaches the theory of evolution. I'm interested to know.
That's exactly what we teach them, that humans evolved from apes.
Yeah.
And through natural selection, we became humans.
But her question is, why are there still apes? Well, I'll tell you why there are still apes. Firstly, we are not just evolved from apes, we are apes. And when animals evolve from other animals, it's not that they supersede them. It's not that we've evolved from chimpanzees. Chimpanzees and we have evolved from a shared ancestor who lived about 6 million years ago and who was neither a human nor a chimpanzee. There's a bigger point at stake here than evolution, of course. What's worrying is that a school that says it wants its pupils to be open-minded is, through its religious training, also guiding them to reject factual evidence at the very core of science and rational thought. Where does that lead?
The school's job is to provide all the information. It is up to the individuals to see what they believe and what they don't believe. So I'd like to leave the choices to these young people.
Yes, so you think that matters of scientific fact are a matter of personal choice based on traditional faith?
Well, none of the reports that I've read says that evolution is a scientific fact. Just as there's a scientific theory which says evolution is there, there's another perspective, from a faith perspective, that says, no, God created all human beings. But I hope you'll see that from our young people, evolution is only one small thing in their lives, and probably an insignificant thing in their lives.
It's not a small thing in the life of a science teacher. She will teach children things which are contrary to the entire scientific community. Now, that's not a small thing, that's actually quite a large thing. If science says one thing and the Quran says the other, who do you go with?
Well, I'd like to believe that because science, scientific knowledge and Quran are essentially from the same creator, there won't be a conflict. The conflict will probably arise in our understanding of those facts.
Well, that sounds reasonable to me. My advice, if you pardon me for offering advice, would be, you are never going to win the fight against evolution. It is a fact. What you should do is to look at the Quran and reconcile it with evolution, which is what the Christians have done.
In RE, we learned about science and the Quran. By the end of the day, we all came to one conclusion, that the Quran is evidence of science. So, what science has proved to be just recently is already proved in the Quran 1400 years ago when it was written.
But that doesn't include evolution, apparently.
No, it doesn't.
So what does it include?
It includes stuff like the shape of the earth, about the mountains, how they secure the earth.
And how in the sea, the two waters, they don't mix, the salty water and the drinking water, so it's pure for us to drink. They don't mix, but they pass through each other.
Salty water and fresh water don't mix in the sea?
No, it's like
it's a natural barrier.
I was shocked that RE elbows out science like this.
So you think the Quran is a good source of scientific information?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, and you're the one who wants to be a doctor, is that right? Yes.
I can't be sure indoctrination triumphs over real learning like this in other faith schools, but I do worry there's nothing to stop it happening. I think RE must be taught critically so that the factual evidence of history and science are properly respected. In my view, RE should be part of a national curriculum and subject to Ofsted inspection like other subjects. The Church of England told us it wouldn't oppose a national curriculum for RE, and I welcome that. The Board of Deputies of British Jews claims critical thinking is intrinsic to Jewish faith education, and their inspectors inspect their schools' RE in a way that matches Ofsted requirements. But then, why not let Ofsted inspect their RE in the first place? I think there's something deeper going on here. Supporters of faith schools claim they're in some way necessary to allow groups to hand their religious culture down the generations. I understand the argument, but what is the impact of this across our society? One former Muslim feels concerned that faith schools are resurrecting barriers where there need be none.
When I first arrived in the UK back in the early 1970s, myself, my friends, my family, we encountered a lot of racism and we often felt excluded. And things have improved, and it shocks me, it saddens me that people like me are now choosing to self-segregate when others have worked so hard to allow us to mix and to join in and to be part of a wider community. For me, what's exciting about the world is the range of ideas we can encounter, and to separate yourself off from that, from the rest of humanity, frankly, is deeply, deeply tragic.
Some faiths claim they actually promote community cohesion through their schools, and that this is recognised by Ofsted. But, as we've seen, Ofsted doesn't inspect what's taught in faith schools' RE lessons, nor does it consider the school's admission policies, which can discriminate along religious lines.